So you want to own a gym, you find a space, you fill it with treadmills and squat racks, you unlock the doors, and you watch the monthly memberships roll in on autopilot. Walk into any busy gym on a January evening, and it looks like the easiest business on earth. Every treadmill taken, the weight floor packed, a line at the front desk. You stand there and think, this place must be printing money. And you'd be right that it's printing money. You'd be completely wrong about why, because you're looking at the single hour of the single month that lies to you the hardest. That gym isn't profitable because all those people showed up. It's profitable because most of them are about to stop showing up and keep paying anyway. Study after study finds that roughly 2 out of 3 gym members rarely or never use the membership they're paying for every month. By the end of this, you'll understand why the empty locker is a gym's single best asset, how a room that legally holds a few hundred people can quietly sell 7,000 memberships, and why this business is quietly engineered around your failure, not your fitness. Because a gym is not really a fitness business, it's a subscription business wearing gym clothes. It sells you a monthly promise to a better version of yourself, and it makes its cleanest money in the exact moment you break that promise and don't come in. The gym's most valuable customer isn't the ripped regular grinding through leg day. It's the ghost, the person who signed up in January, came twice, felt good about themselves, and never walked through the door again while the payment leaves their account like clockwork. And make no mistake, the demand underneath all this is real and growing. Something like 77 million Americans hold a gym membership, part of a global industry worth well over $100 billion spread across more than 200,000 gyms. This is not a dying trade. It's a booming one, which makes the fact that so many individual gyms quietly go under all the more revealing. Let's start with what it costs to get in, because the price tag is a lot more layered than rent a space and buy some dumbbells. There isn't one kind of gym. There are really 5, and each one is a completely different bet on the same question. At the bottom sits the budget gym, the $10 to $20 a month chains that pack a building the size of a supermarket with thousands of members and run on a skeleton staff. Above that, the mid-tier commercial gym, $40 to $70 a month with a weight floor and group classes. Above that, the luxury clubs. Places like Equinox charging anywhere from $200 to over $400 a month, or Lifetime, which pulls in around $190 a month per member and sells you less of a gym and more of a country club. Then the boutique studios, small rooms built around one style of class. And finally, the personal training studio, which doesn't sell memberships at all, it sells hours with a coach. Every one of these is answering the same question: do you make your money from a huge number of people paying a little, or a small number paying a lot? Whatever you choose, the expensive part is not what you think. It's not the equipment, it's turning an empty box into something that can legally and safely hold hundreds of sweating human bodies. Commercial rubber flooring that can survive a dropped barbell runs $4 to $8 a square foot installed. Call it $30,000 to $60,000 for a mid-size floor. Locker rooms and showers need moisture-proof materials and real plumbing, and then the cost almost nobody budgets correctly: air. A normal retail space is not built to handle a room full of people generating heat and humidity for hours, so you need serious ventilation, and the building code doesn't let you guess at it. Add up the flooring, the showers, the HVAC upgrade, the equipment, and the licenses, and a mid-size commercial gym commonly needs somewhere between $300,000 and $750,000, sometimes past $1 million, just to unlock the front door. A single commercial treadmill runs $5,000 to $12,000 and is the fastest appreciating thing in the building, worn down by daily use in a way home equipment never is. And here's the trap that kills first-timers before they've even ramped up: working capital. You're paying full rent, full payroll, and full utilities from day one, while your membership base takes 12 to 24 months to build up to break even. Run out of cash in that window because your pre-sale was weak or a competitor opened nearby, and the gym dies before it was ever profitable. Location matters more than first-timers expect, and not in the obvious way. A gym's catchment is tiny. The overwhelming majority of members come from within a 10 to 15-minute trip of the building. That little radius, and the income of the people living inside it, is your entire market. Drop a luxury club into a budget neighborhood, or a budget gym into an area where the rent demands premium pricing, and no amount of advertising will save you. There's also a fork most owners hit early: build your own gym from scratch, or buy into a franchise. A franchise hands you a known brand, a proven layout, and national marketing, but it isn't free. You'll typically pay an upfront fee of $20,000 to $60,000, plus an ongoing royalty of 6 to 8% of your gross revenue every month for as long as you operate. An independent owner keeps every dollar the gym makes. A franchisee permanently rents the brand, and it only pays off if that brand pulls in enough extra members to cover what you're handing back. So now the good part. How does this thing actually make money? The core engine is brutally simple: monthly dues times number of members, minus fixed costs. But the magic is hiding inside who those members are. Picture two people who both sign up. The first comes 3 times a week, every week. The second comes twice in January and never again. Which one is more valuable to the gym? It's the second one, and it isn't close. The regular uses hot water, wears down the treadmill belt, needs the floor space at 6 p.m. when it's already crowded, and every one of those things costs the gym real money and real capacity. The ghost costs almost nothing. No hot water, no wear, no crowding, just a payment arriving every month for a service they've priced into their life and forgotten about. In the language of economics, the ghost is a customer whose cost to serve is near zero and whose revenue is pure. Around 1 in 7 members hasn't set foot in their gym in the past month and is still paying. Once you understand that, the whole design of the industry snaps into focus. Consider the building itself. Planet Fitness averages roughly 7,200 members per club, but its members visit, on average, about 6 times a month. Do the math on what would happen if they all showed up at once. You'd have thousands of people trying to cram into a floor the fire code caps at a few hundred. It's physically impossible, and the gym is counting on it. The gym isn't selling you access to a room. It's selling a statistical bet that the overwhelming majority of the people who pay will not use it at the same time, and that a huge chunk of them won't use it at all. The building only has to be big enough for the fraction who actually show up, never the total number who pay. This is also why a gym doesn't secretly wish every member became a daily regular. A gym full of daily regulars would need a bigger, more expensive building and far higher utility bills to serve the exact same number of paying customers. The forgotten membership sitting unused on someone's bank statement is one of the most profitable customers a gym can have. There's a rhythm to this, too, and it runs the entire financial calendar. Roughly 12% of all annual gym signups happen in the single month of January, driven by New Year's resolutions. Gyms lean into it hard with discounts and a wave of advertising. But the flood that comes in fast goes out just as fast. Something like 80% of those January joiners have stopped showing up by summer, and February is the single most dangerous month, where the initial burst of motivation dies before a real habit forms. The smart owner treats that January cash surge as a seasonal spike to be banked and stretched across the slow summer, not as a permanent level of income to go spend. Then there are the upsells, which is where a lot of the real profit hides. The clearest example is Planet Fitness's Black Card. For about $10 more a month, it adds perks most members will rarely use: massage chairs, tanning, guest passes, and roughly 2/3 of all members now buy it, generating around 67% more revenue per member than the basic tier. On top of that sits personal training, the one part of a gym with genuinely strong economics. A coach billing $80 an hour can only train so many people one-on-one, but running a small group of 4 clients at once shatters that ceiling and can be far more profitable per hour than a wall full of forgotten memberships. The gym doesn't keep all of it. Trainers on payroll typically take 1/3 to 1/2 of what they bring in, but a single dedicated training client can still be worth dozens of members who barely touch their card. Put the whole model together at scale, and you get the purest expression of it: Planet Fitness. It ended 2024 with 19.7 million members, has since climbed past 20 million across nearly 2,900 locations, and now accounts for roughly 27% of every gym membership in America. It generates around $1.3 billion in revenue at better than 40% adjusted margins, while charging most members less per month than they spend on streaming services. It built an empire not by getting people to come, but by making it painless to pay whether they come or not. So far, this sounds like a machine that can't lose. Now the other side of the ledger, and it's heavier than it looks. The first problem is that your members are constantly leaking out the bottom. The average gym loses somewhere around 30 to 40% of its members every year. The average member's lifespan is under 9 months. Roughly half of all new members quit within their first 6 months, most of them fading out inside the first 90 days. What that means in practice is that you are running just to stand still. A gym with a few thousand members has to sign up hundreds of new ones a year simply to replace the ones walking out the door, before it grows by a single member. That's not growth. That's a treadmill of its own, which leads to the ugliest open secret in the business. Because so much of a gym's revenue comes from people who quietly wish they'd already quit, the industry has made leaving as hard as it possibly can. Joining takes 30 seconds on your phone. Canceling, at many chains, has meant showing up in person, or mailing a certified letter, or giving 30 to 60 days notice so the gym collects at least one more month after you've decided to go. Regulators finally noticed. The Federal Trade Commission wrote a click-to-cancel rule that would have forced companies to make quitting as easy as signing up, and in July 2025, a federal appeals court struck it down on procedural grounds. Then, just weeks later in August 2025, the FTC turned around and sued the operator of LA Fitness, alleging it used confusing cancellation methods and literally trained staff to deny cancellation requests made by phone or email. Think about what that friction actually tells you. If a gym's survival depended on happy, engaged members who came all the time, it would never need to make leaving this hard. The difficulty is the confession. The business knows a huge share of its money comes from people who don't want to be paying it. And under all of that sits a wall of fixed costs that doesn't care how your month is going. Rent, payroll, equipment leases, insurance, and the utility bills for a building running constant ventilation, hot water, and lights. Heavy daily use grinds down treadmill belts and machine cables far faster than you'd expect, so repairs never stop. None of these bills flex with attendance, and none of them stop if the doors are forced shut, which is exactly what happened in 2020, and it's where the whole industry's fragility got exposed at once. When the pandemic forced gyms closed, revenue didn't dip, it went to zero, while the rent and the debt kept arriving. By some estimates, around a fifth of American gyms closed for good over the course of the pandemic, and the industry shed on the order of $20 billion. And the ones that broke first were the ones stuck in the middle. 24-Hour Fitness, a chain that had run for over 30 years, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June 2020, permanently closed well over 100 clubs, and used the process to wipe out roughly $1.2 billion in debt. Gold's Gym, the 55-year-old mecca of bodybuilding where Arnold Schwarzenegger trained, filed for bankruptcy a month earlier and was eventually sold out of it for around $100 million. But COVID was only the trigger. The deeper story is that these mid-tier gyms were already being crushed from both sides. Below them, budget chains like Planet Fitness were pulling away every price-sensitive member with a $10 membership. Above them, boutique studios and premium clubs were pulling away the committed ones, and home options like Peloton were pulling away the rest. Stuck in the middle, not cheap enough to win on price, not special enough to justify a premium, the mid-tier gym had nowhere to stand. The pandemic just finished a job that was already well underway. It's the same trap that kills a mid-grade shopping mall. The moment you're neither the cheapest nor the most special, you're quietly dying, whether the parking lot looks full or not. So let's add it all up and answer the real question. What do you actually make? Take the optimistic version. You pick the right neighborhood, you hit your break-even membership count on schedule, you keep churn on the low end, and you build a real personal training and upsell program on top of your base of members. Under those conditions, a mid-size independent gym can pull somewhere between $500,000 and $1.5 million a year in revenue at a net margin around 10 to 15%. An owner take-home in the neighborhood of, say, $70,000 to $180,000. A genuinely solid result for the capital and work involved. Now the realistic version, and none of it is exotic, churn runs at the high end instead of the low end. A budget chain opens 2 miles away and siphons off your price-sensitive members. Your equipment starts breaking more than you budgeted, quietly adding a couple $1,000s a month. And that same gym slides from a comfortable double-digit margin into a single-digit margin, or an outright loss in a slow season, even while the parking lot outside still looks reasonably full most evenings. The difference between those two outcomes for the very same building can be well over $100,000 a year, and almost none of it shows up as a dramatic event. Just a slightly higher cancellation rate and a slightly heavier repair bill, compounding quietly until the number at the bottom looks nothing like the plan. And if you want to see what mastering this looks like, look again at the franchise version. An average Planet Fitness location pulls around $1.7 million a year and clears somewhere near $250,000 in earnings, and the 3-year failure rate for the franchise runs around 2%, against roughly 9% for the fitness industry as a whole. The difference isn't better treadmills, it's a model built, from the ground up, around the person who pays and never comes. So if you ever do decide to open a gym, hold on to the one thing that actually decides whether you make it. It was never about how many people you can get to sign up in January. It's about how well you can survive on the people who stop showing up in February. That empty treadmill at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday in March isn't a sign your gym is failing. It's the sign your business model is working exactly as designed. And if you've caught the pattern by now, a business that looks like a sure thing from the outside and turns out to run on something the customer never sees, you've watched it before on this channel. Try the one on owning a bank next, where the safest-looking business on earth can vanish in 44 hours. Then the one on owning a shopping mall, where a building that looks 90% full can quietly be going broke. It's the same trap wearing a different building every time.